Hello and welcome to the Elliot Joe Show. So I said we'll be covering a few topics. One of my loves is playing video games. I don't get as much time now as I'd like to do it, but I'm going to use this opportunity to review a PSVR game, the Inpatient, which I've played fully. Absolutely fantastic. So here's my review. So let's kick it off with the story. So it's set in Blackwood Sanatorium, which, in case you don't know, is from the Until Dawn series. It covers it briefly in Rush of Blood. But most of the references are from the original PS4 game, Until Dawn. Absolutely amazing game, and it's a bit of a prequel to that, really. So you basically begin this journey as the main protagonist in the game. You'll be in a cell answering questions by the main antagonist, Dr. Jefferson Bragg. You'll basically get multiple choices, and this is the first time we really see the butterfly system introduced, which we'll cover more in gameplay. They'll then come and give you an injection, you go to sleep, and you wake up inside a cell with another roommate sat up on the bed opposite, which will be male or female depending on which gender you choose personally. After a bit of dialogue, there's some ensuing chaos, and you basically break free eventually. So eventually, you come across some employees from the sanatorium, a priest, and some others who inform you that there's been an uprising of Wendigo, and your job is to try and escape the sanatorium through a chapel and out via cable car, basically, off the mountains. If you do remember Until Dawn, this is where the Wendigo come from. This is a prequel, so it gives you a bit more insight into the Wendigo, and you may remember them as being sensitive to movement and absolutely merciless, which, given the fact that it's in VR, is pretty damn terrifying. The story can in fact be rather slow at times. It sometimes feels like a bit of a walking simulator, but if you take the time to get past this first hour of dialogue and questions and introduction to the game, you'll find that you really start to feel a part of the Until Dawn universe, which is really satisfying. Until Dawn was fantastic, and it's nice to actually experience this game in virtual reality. The emphasis is on absorption, and I feel that the story really achieves that absorption in this particular title. So overall, I'm giving the story from Until Dawn pretty damn good 8 out of 10. It's not a strong 8, it's a pretty good 8. Just, I guess it's not as strong as it could be, because it could be a bit more in-depth, fluent. There could be a bit more going on, it could last a little bit longer. But in terms of what's done there, it's actually done very well, and I felt like it achieved its purpose of really absorbing me in this world and making me feel like I was in Until Dawn, which is both terrifying and fantastic. So 8 out of 10 for the story. So the gameplay is basically an area where I feel like this game deserves a second look. It really shines. It's had a bad rep because it's not got the hustle and bustle of a lot of run and gun shooters, which most people seem to be into more and more nowadays. But it does offer something fresh, something different, and I feel like a lot of people in reviewing this title have really missed the point, which is why I decided to do a re-review of The Inpatient. It's effectively a walking simulator, which at first glance, on paper, sounds like it could be quite boring. But where it really kicks in is the element of choice that you get when having conversations. You can either be mean or nice, or funny, not so funny, sarcastic, or empathetic. And it's these choices which drive the story, which really add a sense of intrigue to the game and really make you feel engrossed, and it's this that I want to focus on in this review. Now, if you remember Until Dawn and the butterfly effect system that was used in the game, you'll remember that this system was in place because it basically gave you some choice on the outcome of the game, and the decisions you made would often impact who lived and who died, and that's basically the system that we see here in The Inpatient again. Perhaps not on such a broad level because it is a smaller game, but there are plenty of choices which do affect these particular outcomes. To add to the immersion of this, you've got the PlayStation camera, so in Until Dawn you did it all on control pad. In this particular game you can actually choose to speak the lines, which is amazing because the characters will respond directly to you speaking the lines. The input recognition is extremely good. I didn't have one occasion where what I said wasn't picked up by the PS4 system. I didn't have to speak particularly loud, and it really helped with the immersion and made me feel like I was having a real conversation with the characters in the game. There's a really nice scene when you go through this graveyard to get to a chapel, and it's another mechanic that I absolutely loved in VR. You basically come across some Wendigo, and as we know, it's movement that really sets these guys off. And so there's a point where you can kind of see them in the corner of your eye up on top of this chapel, and you know that if you move your head, they will come and kill you. But in order to not do that, you have to not look at them, and that can be really tough when you're in this world because it's so tempting to kind of go, oh crap, what's that? It's kind of like trying to eat a donut without licking your lips, if I'm completely honest. I won't put any more spoilers in this review, because I would like you to go and play it, and it is quite a short game, so it'd be quite easy to spoil it. But it really is amazing. These two mechanics really make the game, okay, they're used sparsely and not that often, but if you stick with it, it's just so worth it. It's just such a good immersive experience. Overall, I'm going to give the gameplay for this game a really solid 8 out of 10. Graphics. Now, obviously, they're not on par with the PS4's Until Dawn movie-like graphics, but the graphics are something to behold for a VR system, and they make this world really feel lived in. The lighting is another really strong point of the game, and it creates a world which is really believable to exist in, reminiscent of hell on Earth. The textures are really pretty good, and everything just feels so well placed in terms of props and other things. There's a really nice bit when you're being given a tutorial on the butterfly effect, and just the fact that you can see the beam coming from the projector onto a screen in VR shows that they've really thrown a lot of love into this game. At some point in the game you get given a torch, you find a torch, and you can use this torch to shine and highlight particular parts of the environment. And when you see the level of detail on things like the brickwork, when you go inside the elevator you can see the metal framework on top of the elevator, and the textures on the people and things like that. It's just really nice. It just feels like it was a project made from passion of this universe. So my final verdict on graphics within the game is a pretty awesome 9 out of 10. Yeah, okay, Until Dawn on the PS4 flat screen has better graphics, partly due to the more excessive hardware capabilities of modern day TVs and projectors. The VR system doesn't quite have those capabilities, but if you look at it side by side alongside a lot of the current VR games, you can see that Until Dawn's The Inpatient is really visually impressive. That's my final verdict, and I can honestly say, having played games like Resident Evil and Don't Knock Twice in VR alongside Until Dawn, that Until Dawn really holds its own as a solid piece of work, basically. It's much better than Don't Knock Twice. The immersion's great, the story's been invested in. Compared to Resident Evil, okay, it doesn't quite have that blockbuster feel about it, but it is a nice short experience, and I quite like the fact that it's shorter and it's compacted a story into a short space of time, because after all, who wants to spend 15 hours in hell in VR? 3 hours is plenty. So my final verdict of this particular game is a really solid 8.5 out of 10. It's really good. I can't really say anything more to praise the game. I think you should go out and buy it. I mean, I know it's now kind of pretty much late 2018, and you've probably got other games on the agenda, but if you have got a VR headset, go buy it. If you don't have a VR headset, you owe it to yourself to go and buy one just to try this game. It's really worth picking up, and we really want to see more games like this developed and kind of broadened upon, because this is the beginning, if we allow it to be the beginning, and if we invest in products like this that show a lot of potential. So thank you for watching the Elliot Joe Show. If you like what you saw, please subscribe. There's a little button below, actually. Yep, you can see it just down there. Here, exactly. Please feel free to subscribe to see more reviews. We'll cover a range of topics, so if this wasn't for you, we'll also do other things such as art and sports, and there'll be playlists. So by subscribing, you're basically inspiring me to cover more content. Feel free to comment. Anything you'd like to see covered, please give it a mention and I'll answer your questions, or we can do a whole new vlog just for you. Thanks again, it's been great. Obviously we didn't use any footage today or photographs of the game. There's a bit of a grey area with copywriting. I want to make sure that we don't enter into that, but I still feel like by talking to you directly like this, it's the best way to give you the best idea of the game, and I think we've pretty much accomplished that today. At some point we may get copyright rights to particular stuff, but it does require your support, and it requires you to subscribe to my channel. There's also a little button on the top, you can press that. Either one's fine, they both do the same thing.